Greetings, fellow book lovers, and welcome back to Colin's Corner. Today, we're going to be going over my August wrap-up that bled a little bit into September. I don't know, I'm kind of struggling with calling these specific monthly wrap-ups now, since I've been doing them kind of infrequently and just wrapping things up when I feel like you guys might want a little bit of catching up with where I'm at, but regardless, that's just semantics. Before we get into the wrap-up, we of course have to go over the answer for the last video's Comedy with Colin segment, where I asked you guys the joke, how do you cut an ocean in half? The answer? A seesaw. Alright, let's get on with today's video. Firstly, I am going to go over the books that I finished. I didn't start them in August, but I did finish them in August. And first up on that list, please struggle to focus sometimes. Boom! Stephen Erickson's Book 4 of the Malazan Book of the Fallen, House of Chains. Now, this book I do have a full spoiler review on. I'll either link it up here or put it in my description or both. I'm not going to talk too much about it because I have a full spoiler video, and also because it's the 4th book in a series, so I feel like those that are on the 4th book of the series, I don't really have to sell you too much, and those that are maybe interested in Malazan aren't too excited to looking forward to the 4th book quite yet, because they've got a little bit of work to do before they get there. But anyways, I will say that, excuse me, this book was structurally much different than the first three. The first three felt like a contained story by the time I finished those three. And the 4th book felt like the beginning of something new. Not a whole new series, obviously, but it felt like once I had finished Memories of Ice, it felt like a lot of those storylines were kind of tied up fairly neatly. And then with Book 4, it felt like we were moving towards something different. So I really liked the way that this book opened. For those of you that don't know, much of the first 3 books of Malazan do not focus on a specific character or even a specific group of characters. There's lots and lots of jumping around. I would be very hard pressed to even say that there is a main character or a main storyline in the series. But in this 4th book, for the first part of it, the first whole almost 200 pages or something along those lines, we do follow one character's POV, and it was really different. A unique Malazan experience that I personally really enjoyed, and I think that Erickson executed beautifully. I just want to talk about a few of my favorite characters from this specific book, which would be Karsa Orlong, Adjunct Tavor, Felison, and Gamut. There are so many characters that I really did enjoy reading. Those were some of my favorites, though. I will not get into why those are some of my favorites, but those are the storylines that I personally was very drawn to. Now, before we hop off of the Malazan book, I just want to mention a couple of resources that I have really enjoyed utilizing as I go through my Malazan journey. One of those would be Lana and Jeff from the DLC Book Club. They are a YouTube channel that I mentioned in my House of Chains wrap-up, and then I will also tag in the description of this video, because I love what they do is they read sections of the book recommended to them by their community, by their Discord, by their subscribers. They'll read specific chapters, and then they will do a spoiler discussion on those chapters. Now, neither one of them has read the series, so it's really fun to see them go through it and conjecture and make guesses and experience these things for the first time together. And what I do, they're further than me in the series, but I only watch the videos from where I am in the series, so it feels like I'm kind of reading the series alongside them. And if you haven't started Malazan yet and you're going to, I highly suggest checking out their videos, because they have been a delight. And some of my subscribers and members of our Discord turned me their direction, and I want to say thank you for that, because it has really enhanced my Malazan reading journey. And the other thing that I've been using a lot of is the 10 Very Big Books podcast. They are hilarious. Again, the host of that show actually has read the series, and what the show is him reading the series again with two of his friends in real life that have not read the series. So it's a blast as he kind of mediates the discussion and gets to see his friends guessing their way through the series and experiencing the events of Malazan. So I just wanted to shout out those two resources that I use and I really, really enjoy. And then one more thing to note, when our group that is doing the spoiler discussions, the live spoiler discussions, when everybody finishes House of Chains and when we decide on a date to do our discussion, you guys will definitely know by my community tab. We'll post on Twitter. So don't worry, you haven't missed it. We will let you guys know when we get there. Next up, I don't have a physical copy of this, but I will pop up a picture probably here. It's going to be Tigana by Guy Gavriel Kay. Now, this is my first Guy Gavriel Kay book. I just want to say right off the bat, this took me back to a more classic fantasy feel. Sword and sorcery type of fantasy, and man, the world just felt so magical almost instantly. I don't know how exactly to put it into words, but I think for those that read fantasy, you'll understand kind of what I'm trying to get at. When I originally think of fantasy, and now that obviously Viewpoint has branched out and grown and adapted, which is great, that's why we read, but still that initial feeling of why I'm drawn and why I love fantasy is that sense of wonder about the world around me. The sense of, knowing that there's magic, knowing that there is things like sword and sorcery happening. And I don't understand everything, but I might, and I will learn things, and some things will still remain mysterious. And there's a quest, there's a mission, and there's people banding together. This book had all of it. Absolutely all of it. And Guy Gavriel Kay's writing style is perfect for generating this sense of wonder and beauty about his world and the characters in it. Now, when I was reading through this book, I had so much fun. There was so much smiling, laughing. My anxiety was rising right alongside these characters. And I think that, I don't know if this is the best place to start with Guy Gavriel Kay, but I think that for me personally, it certainly made me want to read more of his works. So for me, it worked really well. Again, I have not read a lot of his stuff. This is the very first book that I've read. So if you guys have any other Guy Gavriel Kay recommendations that you think I need to put higher on my list, please, please let me know in the comments, because I absolutely loved Tigana. One thing I will say about Tigana, and this is not a knock on it by any means, but it's just something I feel like people should know going into, I guess, Tigana, and from what I've heard, other Guy Gavriel Kay books, his chapters are really long, and I mean like long by fantasy standards even. I was reading this on my Kindle, and in the bottom of a Kindle, I don't know if you don't have a Kindle, it'll tell you how many pages are left in the chapter, and after you use the Kindle for a while, it kind of gets to learn your reading speed, so it will tell you how much time is left, anticipated time in this chapter. And I would start a chapter and it would be like an hour and 32 minutes left in this chapter. So that's a little bit daunting. I know it doesn't matter. The book's the same amount of pages, the same amount of words, regardless of how long the chapters are, but that was a little bit frustrating because I'm personally somebody that, if I can, likes to end a reading session on the end of a chapter, and that didn't happen very often with Tigana, but there are a lot of really good page and chapter breaks within each chapter to kind of hop off if you've got something going on, you can't read any longer. So I just want to put that out there, but highly, highly recommend Tigana by Guy Gavriel Kay. Before we move on to what I am currently reading, I just wanted to say that if you guys are watching this video and if you're enjoying it and you're enjoying the content on my channel so far, please don't forget to hit the subscribe button. It is the thing that allows me to make these videos and helps me the most. And I love chatting with you guys about books, and I hope to continue doing this for a very long time because it's one of the very favorite hobbies that I have in my life. So if you're watching this video and you like it, please don't forget to hit like, hit subscribe, and share this video to a friend. Thank you. Now let's get on with what I am currently reading in the month of September. We're going to start off with, come on buddy, please focus, Fool's Quest. This is, so sadly, the 15th book in the Realm of the Elderlings series by Robin Hobb. I just want to say, obviously I cannot say much about this. Everybody knows that is a fan of Realm of the Elderlings or is going to read it. I think most people do. The series is called Fitz and the Fool. I'm addicted to reading this book. I cannot stop. I am flying through it, and to me does not feel like the second book in a trilogy. It doesn't suffer from that second book syndrome at all. And Robin Hobb is somebody who, for me, in past series that I've read, has kind of, and this is not to say that I don't like it, because I love reading Robin Hobb's just kind of day-to-day characters doing things. But this book doesn't feel like that at all. And I think it's a combination of, it's the 15th book in a series, so they're not ramping up anymore. Things are there. Like, in general in this world, the climaxes are there. There still will be more heights and I'm sure more sorrows for me to go through. But I think that this book for me just kind of feels like, I'm wondering if Fitz and the Fool is just going to feel like one really long novel by the end. There hasn't been any time jumps really between the first and second book in this series so far. But yeah, I think for me, it's finally time to admit that at this point in my life, this exact point in my life, Robin Hobb is my favorite author. Now again, things will change, can change, but just where I'm at in my life and how I continuously have connected to her texts over the past 2 years that I've been reading this series, I can't deny it anymore. Not that I was denying it, but it was really hard for me to be like, yep, that's my favorite author of all time. Right now, Robin Hobb is my favorite author that I've ever read. And I think that, when you're getting into making statements like that, it's not really objective. At this point, for me, it's a very subjective thing with measures of objectivity. She's a fantastic writer, absolutely tremendous writer that understands humans and their emotions and animals and their emotions possibly better than anybody that I've ever read. But the subjectivity part of it is that I just feel like this series was written to connect with me. The themes, the characters that we explore, it just resonates with me. And at this point, 15 books into the series, every single time I travel back to Robin Hobb's world and her writing, within her pages, I feel like I am at home. I will talk extensively about this book with Ben, my partner in this read-along, whenever we both finish this and plan our live discussion. But yeah, I'm so emotionally attached to these characters in this world. And I'm really sad that I only have one book left. So I'm just kind of dragging my feet a little bit in like reading these last 3 books back to back to back, because I don't want to not have any more Realm of the Elderlings books to read. But with that being said, I really need to know how this story wraps up. So I'm about halfway through this right now. I anticipate probably finishing it within the next like 3 or 4 days. I can't stop reading it. So these other books that I'm currently reading, they may get pushed down the line a little bit longer because I can't seem to put this down. Next up, we have Something Wicked This Way Comes by the legendary Ray Bradbury. And, this book, I'm about 80 pages in, so not too far, but it's only about 330-ish pages, at least my edition is. And it's amazing so far. Right off the bat, Bradbury is able to create this eerie feeling with interesting characters, even upon first meeting them. It's got this small town feel and this sense of angst as we learn about this carnival that comes to town a little bit too late for carnival season. So there's already something up about that, and we get these 2 young kids that are exploring why this carnival may be coming to town, and they are very wigged out about it. Even some adult members of the community are questioning why the heck this carnival has traveled to town, what its motives are. It seems a bit off. So Bradbury is an exceptional writer. Everybody knows that. I'm not making any new claims there. But this is the first Bradbury book I've read since I read Fahrenheit 451, which was probably, let me think for a second. I don't know, probably 15 years ago now. So I don't have much to compare it to. I have not read any of Bradbury's smaller works, like his shorter fiction. All I can say right now is that this is spellbinding. It's magical. The chapters are very short, and it lends itself to being, read quickly. And he really just grabs your attention and does not let go, at least through these first 80 pages. So I can't wait to see how this book finishes up. I'm really, again, enjoying Ray Bradbury's writing style, and I definitely want to explore more Bradbury. So if you've got any burning recommendations, any favorites of Bradbury that you think I should definitely read, please add them to your comment. Next up, I am slowly working my way through Crime and Punishment by Fyodor Dostoevsky. I'm reading this with a friend. We're doing a very slow read along. He found a reading guide that somebody posted online on how they recommend to break down the chapters if you're going to do a read through of this. So we've been following that, and it's the first couple of sessions was a few chapters and then a few chapters the next week. But the last, I think, 3 or 4 weeks have just been to read basically a whole part. So it's, 50, 80, 100 pages depending on the part, but it's not too long. We've been doing week to week readings. So I'm kind of reading this alongside other things. And I firstly just want to say that I am enjoying this book way, way, way more than I thought I was going to, and in a much different way than I thought I was going to. It's not that I went into this thinking I wasn't going to enjoy it, because that's not the case. I anticipated enjoying this book. What I did not anticipate was how gripping this book is. Dostoevsky is able to create in the reader this sense of mania, this sense of it's remarkable how much he's able to make the reader empathize with what the character is going through, and how much he has forced me to question morality, question who I'm rooting for in this book, question who I'm rooting against in this book, question things about life and society that I always just took for granted as being very black and white, right or wrong. Dostoevsky puts these kinds of social issues and cultural issues under a microscope that forces the reader to think hard and differently. Maybe not completely change their morals and values, but to understand that things are not black and white. There's always different levels of complexity to different issues, and it is doing these different issues a disservice to just simply write them off as black and white, good or bad, end of story. So I've really, really enjoyed how much Dostoevsky has forced me to dig deep and question myself while still maintaining an absolutely enthralling, riveting narrative following our main character, Raskolnikov, who at this point in the book, I think I'm on, let me see what part I'm on. Oh, I think I'm on part 6. I still can't figure out if I want to root for him or root against him. He's not a great guy at all. He's done some very, very bad things. But still, the way that Dostoevsky is able to make me empathize with him and almost make me pull for him and even question where my allegiances are is a testament to him as a writer. I am enjoying this a ton, and if you've had Crime and Punishment for a while and maybe have been intimidated by its length or that it's Russian classic, kind of like I was, that's how I kind of thought about it, don't worry about it. I suggest you pick it up if it's something that you've thought about wanting to read for a while. I am having a blast with this book, and it is so much fun to read. So I will probably have this finished before the next time I do a wrap-up. And when I do, I will let you guys know my final thoughts regarding Crime and Punishment by Fyodor Dostoevsky. Next up, we've got Treasure Island by Robert Louis Stevenson. This is an extremely fun, swashbuckling tale about chasing buried treasure. I brought this with me on vacation. I hadn't really planned on starting it at all, but it felt like the right book to bring on vacation because we were going to the beach. And I talked about this in my book haul, but man, reading this book, just sitting on the shore of the Atlantic, and the beginning of this story where Jim Hawkins goes out and, sets sail to basically find this buried treasure. It was spellbinding. It was so much fun, and the perfect place to start reading this book. This book is very short, by the way. It's a lot shorter than I thought it was. It's about, let me see, 190 pages. My classic Penguin Classics copy of this is. So it's very short, and I'm just kind of chipping away at it. I did not know that the cultural famous Long John Silver character came from Treasure Island. I don't know why I didn't know that, but I didn't know that. So when I saw Long John Silver on the page, I got really excited. I was like, oh, this is where Long John Silver comes from. He was a ship cook. And so that's how the restaurant name got its name. So I'm late to the party on that one. But this book, again, it's so much fun. I highly recommend picking this up if you want a shorter classic and if you're somebody that enjoys a great pirate tale. And lastly, maybe this will be something kind of new on the channel because I'm going to try to incorporate more nonfiction into my reading, but I am slowly, very slowly working my way through this. This is called The Constitution Explained by David L. Hudson. Now, as many of you know that are supporters of mine, I am currently in school to become an elementary school teacher. After this semester, this fall semester, I will have my Associate of the Arts degree for early childhood education, and one of the subject areas that I've always known that I need to brush up on and become more well-versed in is history and social studies. So it's been a kind of side project of mine outside of academics to take it upon myself to do some self-learning about not only the United States history, but world history and different governments and how the world got to be where the world is right now. So this is kind of just part of that journey. Now, there's not much to talk about this book, but what I can say is that if you're somebody that's interested in understanding how the Constitution works better, this has helped me with that. It is pretty straightforward. It goes through how we got to the Constitutional Convention. It goes through the Articles of Confederation phase of the United States or colonial America. And then it just kind of goes through and explains the articles of the Constitution and what they mean. So if you are someone that does want to learn more about that or wants to brush up on it, I recommend picking this book up. It's been great so far for me. And that is going to do it for my wrap-up, guys. Before we go, we of course have to do this video's Comedy with Colin. Today's joke is going to be, what do you call two monkeys who share an Amazon Prime account? If you think you know the answer to the joke, do add it to your comment below. Guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you are all enjoying what you're currently reading. And remember, you're always welcome in Colin's Corner.